See Aberera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja 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 Aberera Legos Ram Ori Banish C Demonio. Dinaja. Abarera. Legos. Ram. Ori. Banish. C10. Demonio. Dinaja. Abarera. Legos. Ram. Ori. Banish.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone, to Satan and Coffee, Sunday Black Mass. It's going to be a little bit different. As I kind of previously said yesterday, we're going to be running this a little bit differently. I was thinking this morning, what the hell was I going to talk about? And, well, that was a very quick transition. That wasn't as fancy as the one was last night. You know, I need to fix that. I mean, that was just like, oh, boom, here. Well, so there is a Discord. There should be a link to it in the YouTube channel up above somewhere. There should be like a little Discord icon or something to join the Discord. So there's that. Also, is yours still public?
Yeah, my server's still public as well. That's in my bio as well on my channel, which is on YouTube, Black Magic Dyra. Those Black Witch Dyra and Black Magic Dyra, they're all fucking interchangeable. It's quite confusing, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you go to her channel, she also has a Discord server up for people to join. So go ahead and do that as well. Definitely thinking about getting into some of the after show stuff again, starting next week. So after Apocrypha is finished, Mystic, Dyra, and myself will stick around in the Discord and kind of hang out and have like direct conversation with all of you. So today, as the title suggests, right? Yeah, party in the Discord. Probably start next week, right? So might be interesting to think of merging the two, perhaps. I don't see that being like out of the question later on, to a certain degree, but there is a required necessity for both of us to kind of, like, we can cross-platform between our shit, but there is, I do believe that for relationship sanity, it is absolutely necessary that, like, we kind of maintain kind of our own shtick. Like, I have my thing, she has her thing, we cross over where we think it would work, and then we have the thing that we're going to be doing together, which is Adversary of My Adversary, which will be next week. So I would like to do it today, but I don't know what my schedule is looking like for the rest of the day after this, so I can't commit to anything. So there's that part of it. Yeah, so there's definitely going to be crossover. You'll probably end up seeing me on her channel at some point. You know, and then obviously you're seeing her on mine very often. I think the difficult aspect of like putting me on her channel in any capacity is she more does pre-recorded video rather than live video. And so, and it's not necessarily kind of like interview type content. It's more educational content, like, you know, this is an experience that I've had, this is, you know, a viewpoint on this is how you do this is how you do that. So
go subscribe.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, go subscribe to her channel. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about what I chose as a subject for today here in Satan and Coffee is honestly the video that kind of turned me on to Daira's content, right? We share very similar opinions when it comes to like TST and things like that. And for those of you that don't know what TST is, it is the Satanic Temple. So we share very similar views on them and the way that they go about doing things. And so I kind of wanted to kind of talk about Satanism in the sense of, you know, Laveyan Satanism, you know, theistic Satanism and Luciferianism. And I think like more recently, Luciferianism is kind of getting bunched up into, you know, being considered a form of Satanism. So it's kind of lost its autonomy as a path. Right, people are kind of using it interchangeably, like with theistic Satanism and Luciferianism. They kind of like are beginning to use it interchangeably, which I think is a mistake. I don't think that those two things are. They definitely have similarities, points where they cross over, but they are also very, very different. So to kind of kick this off, like when you think about like Laveyan Satanism in terms of atheistic Satanism, theistic Satanism, Luciferianism, like, I mean, beyond like the obvious differentials, like what do you think like those differences are?
So, I mean, the obvious one being the atheistic and theistic divide there. I've always found kind of like Laveyan Satanism or just like atheistic Satanism, particularly the works of Peter Gilmore, to be quite just a bit snobby and a bit just comes across like he's a bit of an asshole. I'm not really a fan of. I remember reading the Satanic Bible and thinking, yeah, I like it. This is good. But then I read the Satanic Scriptures and I was like, well, that was a waste of my fucking time. Like, I'm not a fan of that book. I'm not a fan of Peter Gilmore. I just think it's fucking boring. So I think there's definitely this kind of very ironic in the term, but holier than thou thing going on with that sort of branch of Satanism, and it seems quite constrictive actually. And I just feel like there's this thing of like being better than everyone else. That's just the vibe I've always got from it. When it comes to theistic Satanism, when I've seen people practice theistic Satanism, not all people, but some, it seems quite monotheistic for some people. Which, you know, I guess it is okay if that's like the way you want to do it. But I can't help but feel like there's a obvious similarity there between other monotheistic religions such as Christianity, and I just think that there's so much more you could branch out with. Luciferianism, feel like, you know, Michael Ford's definitely brought that out in the occult, you know, written a lot about Luciferianism. And I'd say, like, the difference is, I feel like Luciferianism is, it has a more explicit goal, which is apotheosis. So in terms of like the goals there, like I feel like with Laveyan Satanism there's not really a goal. It's just sort of saying like how things are. And don't get me wrong, the Satanic Bible is a great read, and especially if you need to look at your own sort of Abrahamic conditioning around things, it is a brilliant book. But in terms of progression on your spiritual path, that isn't what it's for. And I feel like Luciferianism offers more for a spiritual path. At least that is my experience.
Okay. I mean, I'll be honest, when it comes to Luciferianism, I'm definitely not the person to ask. My understanding and knowledge of Luciferianism extends to the few videos and conversations I've had with Michael Ford, which are few and far between. But it's definitely an interesting concept. I've always felt that like Luciferianism, like at least from the limited exposure that I have, has like a very Catholic kind of vibe to it, like with the way that it's presented, at least the way Michael presents it. I think it has like a really kind of like, there's like this reverse Catholicism kind of vibe to it. It shares a lot of the rigidity that Catholicism has with, you know, its structures and things like that. Also, everyone, if you can hear my phone going off, I apologize. Apparently, I'm a very popular person every time I decide to go live. So, like, everybody and their grandmother decides to start sending me messages. So...
Just what Maeve said. While Luciferians do embrace the enjoyment of one's life, they accept that there are greater and more spiritual goals to be pursued and achieved. Yeah, I think there's a huge focus on higher magic when it comes to Luciferianism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something for me to kind of like dig into. Now, I do kind of have more of a basis when we look at atheistic and theistic Satanism. Now, I believe that the differences between atheistic Satanism and theistic Satanism, fundamentally, they have very few differences. I believe for most atheistic and theistic Satanists, they follow the same base philosophy. I think that most theistic Satanists, honestly, at least the ones that I know, are Laveyan at root, but believe in an actual being or entity that exists beyond the self, right? And kind of pay reverence to that entity, to that being being Satan, right? That's what that entity is. And so Satan and Coffee, when I came up with the inception of this, the idea was to read through the Satanic Bible as a philosophical manuscript and talk about how certain aspects of the Satanic Bible probably apply more today than it ever did when it was written, to how we live our lives as occultists. I do not consider myself a Satanist to any degree. Perhaps like there was a point in time before fully adopting Left Hand Path where I would label myself a philosophical Satanist, that I looked at the Satanic Bible as not a scripture of spirituality, but rather a guide stone to kind of push you through your life through more difficult times, to understand that the decisions that you make, the difficult decisions that you make in your life, that may hurt people indirectly, are not necessarily bad decisions if you need to do it for yourself. And that was something that I really needed to hear at the time, to understand that being a little selfish and taking care of yourself and making sure that yourself is okay is, at the end of everything, making sure that you're capable of taking care of those that mean the most to you. Because if you're not okay, then you can't provide for anyone or anything. And so with with Laveyan Satanism or the Satanic Bible, that's what that provided for me. It provided that understanding that if you're suffering through a situation, you're choosing to suffer. And I think that in theistic Satanism, I think that follows through. I think that philosophy and that idea follows through. I think that a lot of the rituals that are used in the Satanic Bible and the satanic rituals carry over to theistic Satanism. My gripe with atheistic Satanism isn't with the fundamentals of it. It's with the people that practice it. My gripe with them is the idea that you have many atheistic Satanists out there saying that theistic Satanism doesn't exist, denouncing or saying that basically shutting down people that consider themselves theistic Satanists, that they are not allowed to call themselves Satanists because they're theistic, that Satanism is inherently atheistic, which simply just is not true. Even if you read the Satanic Bible, LaVey himself, though he kind of flounders back and forth between kind of atheistic belief and, theistic structures, there's definitely a theistic element in the Satanic Bible. And so there's that aspect of it. And then the worst part of it, organizations like TST. I know that we're probably going to piss off a lot of people saying this. I'll speak for myself and let Dyra speak for herself. I think that the Satanic Temple is a fucking joke. I think that everything that they do has nothing to do with the benefit of the people that follow the organization, but are just simply social media marketing tactics to get people to pay attention to them. They saw major growth with the documentary. What was it called? What was that documentary? We actually watched it as a community like a while ago, a couple years ago. Hail Satan, I think it's called, or something to that effect. They saw a lot of marketing success with that stunt of trying to place a statue of Baphomet, next to any government, any state government that had like the 10 Commandments. They managed to get the 10 Commandments removed from many different state governments and city governments because they simply didn't want to put a statue of Baphomet. So based off of the laws and how things were, they actually got it removed, and that garnered them a lot of attention. And initially, I saw the point. I could see the point in that, and that was a valid, act to show the contrast of how America is as a country when it comes to Christianity, and in comparison to other religions and other faiths. It isn't, the United States is not a Christian nation. The majority of people are Christian, yes, but the country itself, we're not Christian. We're not Catholic. And that's what that kind of proved. But I think that success to that marketing kind of went to their head. And they've become, in my opinion, a shell and a laughing stock of what they used to stand for as an organization. So, they take the atheistic aspect of, the Church of Satan, and then they just fucking run with it. And the Church of Satan, honestly, isn't much of a better organization. Honestly, like from my understanding, LaVey's grandson wanted to take the reins of the church because there was things that LaVey wrote down that were never published that he had access to about the direction that he wanted to go with the church. Now, this can never be confirmed or denied because nobody's ever seen this outside of his grandson, and if I'm not mistaken, his grandson's dead now. But he had things that were written by LaVey about the direction that he eventually wanted the church to go into, that the church completely and utterly ignored, because it's more lucrative how it is. And so when he came in and he asked like, hey, I want my place, they excommunicated him from the Church of Satan. And so the problem with these organizations, the point that I'm getting to, is when you look at the Satanic Temple and you look at the Church of Satan, it's reverse Catholicism. Like, they're doing the same thing that the church does to people that they don't agree with by ostracizing them. And I don't know, like, I just think it's sad to see. I mean, what were your thoughts with like both of those?
So another difference between Satanism and Luciferianism is that Satanism, particularly kind of like TST, but not just TST, is political now. It's a political, it has its own political stance. And it feeds into this idea that you cannot be of this spiritual path. Like, yeah, I know TST is atheistic. I'm talking about LHP in general. If you don't have a particular political stance on things, I've had this told to me directly. I'll express an opinion that is not related to the occult at all. And I've got people going, oh, how can you be a witch if you think that? It's like, what the fuck has that got to do with anything? It's got nothing to do with anything. So it feeds into this whole thing of like, basically, if you're not left-leaning, you can't be this, you can't be that, when it's got nothing to do with it. So, and you know, I made a video probably approaching a year ago now, and I called it TST are a bunch of clowns, because they are. And I was talking about their whole after-school Satan club. And just why I thought it was just a really stupid fucking idea, and how I thought it was like created purely to be controversial. That video got a lot of traction. A lot of people disagreed with me and were like, oh, but the Bible is taught in school. It's just like, so fucking what? So fucking what? Like, just because like Christianity does something doesn't mean we need to mirror it. Like putting the fucking statue of Baphomet outside the fucking government building. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, it's really entitled. It's very, very entitled. And they were like, oh no, they're only teaching, science and things like that. It's just like, I don't care. Why call it After School Satan Club then? Why do that? And people were getting at me because I kept crossing over Church of Satan and TST, and I was just like, yeah, okay, right, you can correct me on mistakes, but my point still stands. You haven't changed my mind on anything. You can try and pick at these little fucking errors I'm making and ignore my whole point. You're not arguing anything valid against my point. So yeah, that's pretty much sums up my view on TST. I've never warmed to the fuckers. I just think that, yeah, I think that their agenda is purely just to piss as many people off as possible, because that's what gets them publicity, that's what gets them money, and it's a fucking joke.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they took, for example, one of the things, Moontan, welcome, hello. So they took one of the things that a lot of people, like, if you've ever watched a video on like quote unquote like ex-Satanists talking to like pastors and stuff like that online and talking about the crazy shit that they would do, like, which, as someone that's in the occult, like I really want to know what fucking organizations these motherfuckers are joining that like are like fucking killing babies and shit and like drinking each other's blood and shit. Like, that's like, dude, like, you're grabbing this shit out of fucking out of a goddamn novel, because the shit just doesn't happen. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some idiots out there trying to do shit like that, but most of them are probably in jail by now. I mean, just look at the fucker over in, what was it, in London, that fucking did his little pact with Lucifuge.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they never, people that actually go that far don't last long, right? Because there's something psychologically wrong with them. You know, so then you get these people that come out like, so there was this one guy that I watched. It was an older video. It was probably like from like the 80s or early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, talking about how he discovered magic for the first time through Dungeons and Dragons, the role-playing game. And then from there, you know, like he learned that magic was real, and then joined a satanic cult, and that they used to, that the women would intentionally get pregnant and then go for an abortion as a sacrifice to Satan. And I'm like, you know it's bullshit. You know it's bullshit. And what pisses me off, like the last line that TST kind of crossed, and for some stupid fucking reason they actually get a lot of support with this, is that they are calling abortion a satanic ritual.
Oh my God.
And due to the federal laws that enforce and protect religious practice, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make abortion a religious practice. So it's like, wait a second. So you are literally like, you have no issue of taking this thing, this disgusting thing that people say that Satanists did back in the day, and all to the day still say that people, the Satanists do, and making it a fucking reality. Because that is what you're doing. By calling an abortion a satanic ritual, so it falls under protected behavior as far as religion is concerned, you are validating everything that these dumbasses have made up about our spiritual practices.
I think that the abortion thing is particularly disgusting because I think regardless of a political view of abortion, I think we can all acknowledge that an unwanted pregnancy, however that came about, is a sad thing. And that having to have an abortion is a very traumatic thing to happen to the body, to the person. So this idea that it's something like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fucking pro-lifer, but do I think it should be something fucking celebrated and turned into some kind of religious rite? Fuck no. It's a really fucking sad thing that that situation has happened. So for them to do that is pretty fucking gross.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. I think it's absolutely disgusting that, you know, that they think that it's okay to do that. And the thing that pisses me off is, you know, there are people out there like celebrating it, like celebrating what TST is doing, saying, oh, like they're fucking awesome, they're protecting, you know, my rights and stuff like this. No, they're not.
They're taking the fucking piss out of your rights. That's what they're doing. They've taken that right and they've taken a big fucking shit on it. That's what they've done. Mm-hmm. They've used that right to make themselves appear in a certain way. Mm-hmm. A traumatic process that a woman has to go through on her body that affects her fertility, affects her mental health. Yeah. That's disgusting.
And the thing with TST is TST tried to go the community route with things, right? So after the whole Baphomet statue thing, which I'll give them credit, that was, I enjoyed that. You know, and they're setting up satanic altars and things like that during, like, in government buildings that show, like, you know, like for Christmas and Halloween and stuff like that. Particularly Christmas. So, like, most government buildings in the United States will allow different faiths and different religions set up, like, kind of like their own kind of like religious connection to Christmas, and so they've got involved in that. Like, okay, that's fine. The community aspect, going to clean up a beach and give food to the homeless and stuff like that, which is stuff that I think an organization like that probably should be doing. But they realized that those types of acts didn't garner the type of attention that they wanted to get. Right? They realized that they got significantly more attention, when they were doing shit like the Baphomet statue or After School Satan. And credit where credit is due, the video for the After School Satan thing, I think it's a cool fucking video. It does not lend itself to children. It's like a 90s, like a 1996 Marilyn Manson fucking music video. Like, I mean, that's kind of like what the vibe is. Like, if you want kids that are like between the ages of 5 and 8 or 5 and 9 to be involved in After School Satan, that is not the video that you're going to show them, right? Because they're going to run for the fucking hills, which again blatantly shows that it was a mockery. It was just a joke. It was just bullshit, right? Because if you're actually making something for kids, you're not going to make something that lends itself to being like, the early era of fucking Marilyn Manson artistry, right? Because that's what it looked like. It looked like it belonged as like the trailer to a fucking horror movie, not something that, you're going to watch and say, oh yeah, I want my fucking 10-year-old involved in that. Look, I'm an occultist, right? I'm a goth. I'm also a father. And watching that video, I can tell you as a parent, I wouldn't put my son into that. Like, it showed like there was no actual intention behind it. It was a joke. Like, there was no literature that, talked about what your children would be learning. And it was just a scary fucking video. Was it cool? Was it a cool video? Yeah, it was a cool fucking video, but it completely missed the mark, right? And it just kind of goes to show kind of like how kind of brain dead they are with their shit. And so with the whole abortion thing, that's just the next step. And to me, I find that particularly disgusting on multiple fronts, right? You've got the side that Dyra's talking about, and then the other side, it just makes us look bad. Like, it really does. Like, it makes us look horrible. That there is an organization that is speaking for us that is saying that, yeah, abortion is a satanic ritual.
Yeah. And you think about, like, how we as left-hand path occultists integrate with society and what people's assumptions are. We are put under the Satanist umbrella as much as we say that we are not Satanists. So any publicity that the TST gets is associated with that umbrella that they put us under, and therefore people jump to that conclusion. And I wanted to also make a point where you said about the sort of ritual abuse sort of kind of thing where, people are drinking blood and all that shit. People really jump on that shit, right? Because they're like, oh my God, that's awful. What's the world coming to? Like, Jesus needs to come back. Ritual abuse is present. Religious abuse is present in every fucking religious system there is. We know that it's fact. There's statistics. You can't cry about this minority of absolute lunatics that are doing that stuff and claiming to be Satanists when in the Middle East, little girls' fucking private parts are being mutilated in the name of culture and religion. So that's another thing as well. Like, it's like that's what they focus on. And TST doesn't help that either when it comes to, abortion is a fucking religious, spiritual right. Like, what do we expect people to think at this point? Can we fucking blame them?
Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of like one of the reasons why I thought it was kind of pertinent to have this conversation. Because now when people hear left-hand path, when people hear Satanism, when people see, you know, something like what I'm doing here is the Sunday Black Mass, it gets very convoluted with all of the bullshit that's out there. And if it's something that you support, what TST is doing, I am not in a position to tell you otherwise. I'm not going to have that argument with you. I'm merely going to express my opinion. You, as an adult human being, can continue believing and thinking whatever it is that you want to believe and think. It has no bearing on my existence. But I do find it pertinent and important to talk about it and bring it forward, because it is something that I do believe that is hurting us. And people, for some reason, because most of the people that are following this now, most of the people that are joining up in TST, right? It's a numbers game, right? Most of the people that are now Satanists inside of the Satanic Temple aren't even fucking Satanists. They're just paying money to get the card to say that they're Satanists, to say that, like, if they do end up needing an abortion in a state that doesn't allow it, that they can say that is their religious right to get an abortion and they can't deny it. The problem is like, I can see the point behind it, but there's a consequence connected to it that is very, very big for the community at large. So, and somebody asked if, like, this is in the States. Yes, this is in the United States. The Satanic Temple is based in the United States. I mean, they have chapters all over the place. You know, so, yeah. So I'm just reading what Odinson wrote. Just dogs. Well, Odinson, you're always welcome. Thanks for being here. You've been great. So yeah, with Satan and Coffee, you know, has never been representative of any form of Satanism, but rather philosophy, right? This is my time to rant and bitch and complain about the shit that I see happening around us. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like, I'm kind of worried about women everywhere. Like, if you want me to be completely honest, like, I'm definitely not, like, I know that this is gonna come as a shock to maybe some of you, but I'm definitely not a leftist. Like, I am the farthest thing from that. I don't...
Steady.
What?
Making you sound farthest thing from that, okay.
Well, I mean, modern leftism. Like, I consider myself a classic liberal. So being a classic liberal, I think it encompasses my views perfectly. I am fiscally conservative, but I am socially progressive to an extent.
I feel like modern conservatism now, to some degree, a certain branch of it is just like classic liberalism. Like,
it is.
Yeah, it's literally what it is.
That is kind of like what modern day conservatism has kind of turned into, is what would be considered classic liberalism. And the whole idea of being a classic liberal has kind of been just thrown out the window. You know, and it's a difficult thing to talk about because the moment that people hear the term conservative, they start flipping shit, right? They start going crazy. Oh, you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're homophobic, you're transphobic, you're this, you're that, you're the next thing. And I mean, you can call me whatever you want to call me. It doesn't make it so. Like, but if it's okay for you to sleep at night, then, you know, go for it. But as I can tell, what we've been talking about here so far, I have yet to see one comment that disagrees with any point that we've made thus far. Which, the point of me saying that is, if you give people time and you actually sit down and have a conversation with them, you might be surprised how much you actually agree upon. When it comes to limitations in certain things, restrictions in certain things, things that need to change, but you have to be open to give a person a chance to have a conversation. And are there going to be points that you're going to disagree with fundamentally, passionately? Yeah, you are. And you know what? It's fucking amazing to have that conversation, because you're not going to change your opinion unless you're open to it, and they're not going to change their opinion unless they're open to it. But if nobody talks to each other, you know, without that conversation, how are you going to know? How are you going to know? If you sit inside of an echo chamber and call that echo chamber a safe space, and in my opinion, that's all a safe space is an echo chamber, right? A safe space.
Well, no one's going to fucking argue with you.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's going to challenge you.
You know, Apocrypha, the whole point of Apocrypha was to have my opinions challenged. Like, I want my beliefs to be challenged because the only way that I'm going to grow as a person is if somebody presents me with new information. Like, I don't want a bunch of people that are just going to agree with me blindly about everything that I fucking say, because there's no growth in it. I'm not going anywhere, right? I get to live inside of a fucking delusion. But if I open up a space and I'm like, hey, disagree with me, it's okay. And let's have that conversation. And I think that's what we're missing in society today. This is why we have the problems that we're having. So many people are afraid to speak out against TST, especially about the abortion thing, because of what it's connected to politically. And they know that they're in that safe zone, that they can do this disgusting, stupid shit and get away with it because of where they're sitting. And we're creating that space for them to do this disgusting shit because we're too afraid to talk about it. We're too afraid to sit down and say, yeah, this is bad for everything. This is bad politically. This is bad for the religious community, the spiritual community, the satanic community. It's bad for everybody. So.
Yeah, I feel like if there isn't space for opposition, then you just can't expect to function in life. Like, people just they really think that, they really believe that the opposition is some kind of hate crime now, that people have to conform to a belief system so that they're not a fucking fascist. It really has become that black and white, and people just don't have a backbone anymore to say otherwise.
Yeah.
The way in which the universe as a whole works is that the law of polarity, everything that exists there's an opposite. And if that wasn't the case, everything would fucking implode. So, you know, to have this intolerance for anyone and anything that doesn't align with your belief system. And, you know, this is partially why I am probably more tolerant of Christianity than most LHP occultists, because I respect the opposition. I respect that it's not going anywhere, as much as an action or a statement might piss me off because it contradicts my gnosis. There's nothing I can fucking do about it. I don't have to let it affect me. So simply just allowing, and to be honest, I find the opposition entertaining to a degree, you know? Fucking scroll through TikTok and I just think, fucking idiot. So, you know, without it, I wouldn't have a lot of YouTube videos to watch coming up on my feed about things that are happening on the internet and in life. So, and people doing commentary on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. So, part of this show, kind of closing out here. So, there's a question presented in the description that says, which path is the right path? Or is there such a thing as a right path?
Not TST.
Okay, yeah. That would be the wrong path. I mean, Church of Satan can kind of get somewhat of a pass because, they generally keep their fucking mouth shut and don't get involved in shit, so I kind of respect them for that. They kind of have, what do you want to call it? Tenure. They have tenure. They've been around long enough where they don't have to do anything to kind of maintain their relevance. They're just relevant because they were the first ones, right? No, there isn't a right or wrong path on this. Like, whether you're an atheistic Satanist or you're a theistic Satanist or you're a Luciferian, there is no right or wrong path. It's whatever speaks to you most. there's no wrong direction to go with it. I would only say, regardless of the direction that you go on your path, don't try to shut other people down to validate your own shit. Right? So, if there's anything to be taken from this, we're talking a lot of shit about the Satanic Temple, but the Satanic Temple isn't a path, it's an organization. Right? They represent a path. They represent atheistic Satanism, or at least they're trying to, very poorly, I might add. Right? But the Satanic Temple is just an organization of people. It's not a path in and of itself.
Yeah, you can be an atheistic Satanist and be conservative and have absolutely nothing to do with TST. TST do not speak for atheistic Satanism or Satanism as a whole.
Yeah, and that's definitely another aspect of it that Dyer brought up that's actually very important, is that your political alignment has zero to do with your spiritual alignment. Yeah, most conservatives are Christian, right? Like, embarrassingly so.
Yeah. That's a really frustrating thing, right? When you hear someone saying some stuff that you agree with, and they're like, "Yeah, this is all because I'm a Christian." You're just like, "Ah, no, it's not."
Right? Yeah. I mean, that I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. Like, I'm watching this video or something, like, and they're saying some stuff. I'm just like, "Yeah, definitely, that makes." And then the next thing, like, they're like, "Yeah, praise to Jesus Christ, our Lord," and stuff. Fucking god damn it! Like, you had me up until that point, man. You know, in adversary of my adversary, when we do that, our inaugural episode, there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to talk about that might shock people. There's going to be a lot of opinions that are brought forth and open, that people might not inherently agree with, but we're open to the conversation. That's what we're hoping is going to happen, is to be able to just have a conversation with people that disagree. It's also going to cover, you know, the basis of, you know, what it's like to be, you know, an LHP couple, living together, practicing together. You know, how does that work? How does that function? How do we deal with our spiritual differences? You know, I mean, I can say off the bat, for me, it's pretty easy. I do quite literally go with the whole concept of live and let live. Like, if you believe in this and it works for you, who the fuck am I to say otherwise? You know, like, if you're getting results, you're getting results. That's all you need. You know, if the way I go about getting results is different, doesn't matter what path we take to get there, we're still getting there. You know, I think people get too sensitive, you know, in situations like ours, where they want someone that completely mirrors who they are as a person, like, at least spiritually speaking. And I think that that's a ridiculous ask, honestly. You know, it's the differences that make things interesting. There's a lot of things that I learned from Dyra, and I hope that, you know, I'm able to teach her some shit, you know, off of how I, you know, go about things. But it's not like you need to do it this way, right? You're completely wrong. No, it's like, I mean, that's abusive. You know, that's what that is. That's abusive behavior. You know, it's like, if you don't like how somebody washes the dishes, you know, and you're like, oh, you're washing them wrong. It's like, does it get fucking clean? Yeah, it does. So what the fuck's it matter how I do it? So, yeah, so that's what adversary of my adversary is going to be covering. Is there anything that you want to mention about it?
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to start doing adversary of my adversary. I think it's a very unique dynamic, and yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. Yeah,
we've got an entire, like, OneNote pad full of, like, topics and shit like that, like, from, like, the spiritual stuff to just, like, mundane stuff, like dividing chores and shit, you know, like, so it's definitely going to be kind of like a different take. I would put it this way. I think that adversary of my adversary is kind of going to mirror a little bit of the To Be Better podcast, just a very satanic left-hand path version of it, right? And I think that is something that's so needed in this space. Like, because our spiritual beliefs aren't just, what we do in front of the altar or what we do for clients. Our spiritual beliefs is something that we take with us every day. We take it with us every day, everywhere we go, right? Satan, Lucifer, Lilith, Belial, whoever it is that, you're paying reverence to, is with you every day. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep to how you live your life. And I think it's important to have a look into that, have a conversation about it, because, people aren't talking about it. Everything I see about, relationships and things like that, all of it is, God and Christ and going to church and this, that, and the next thing. I think the To Be Better podcast, shout out to you guys. Like, I love your guys' fucking content. I think you guys are fucking awesome. If you ever catch wind of this, it's just, for me, it's just the God thing. It's like, live and let Jesus. It's just live and let live. Mm-hmm. But the points that they make, still, I think they're very valid. So what we want to do, what Dyra and I want to do, is we want to present that to you guys in a way that you guys can relate to, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. I'm super excited for it next week. And so hopefully you guys will be there. Other shout outs about our shit, witchskills.com. We are starting an online academy for learning and progression in the occult. Like I talked about last night, I think the biggest thing with Witch Skills is, like, the biggest differential that we have compared to other online courses is what we expect of you at the end of it. We expect you to be able to create your own ritual, perform it, and get results. So, it's not going to be something like where you create a ritual and we look at, like, the creation of it and say, okay, that's functional, and then let you pass. We will let you pass when we know that your ritual worked. Because if your ritual works, that means that you took in the information that we gave you, you're able to make it your own and make it function. So that is the end point. So we will allow you guys to pass and certify you when we know that you're capable of creating a functional ritual that you can prove functions. And I think that that's a huge fucking thing. That's a big fucking thing, because a lot of us, we like to talk about results in the occult, right? Like, what we do is based on results. And obviously results may vary, right? But we never push it. We never push the results, right? We don't hold people to the results. And that's what Witch Skills is going to do. We're going to hold you to the results. So we're basically putting you into a situation where the functionality of our platform is determined on whether or not you can perform. Right? So, yeah, it's not a situation where we give you the information. If it doesn't work for you, it's like, well, then you fucked up. It's no, we're going to give you the information. We're going to show you how to do this stuff, and then you're going to actually be able to do it. Right? And we want to make sure that you're able to do it at the end of the course. So I think that that's the big differential with Witch Skills. Then obviously I have my own services that I'm providing at atiusdade.com. It's very different than what Dyra services are, or at least slightly different. I'm focusing on the shadow aspect of things. So for example, divination is their shadow reads, focused on yourself, what you need to change, how to make yourself better. Same thing with the ritual work and things like that. It's all based on what you need for yourself. And then blackmagicdyra.com. If you want this lovely lady here to do anything basically for you. I mean, you want to talk about what you're offering on your site, your courses?
Yeah, so plenty of courses available. Did a part 1 and 2 of working with Santa Mate. I did a not hexing 101, to hex or not to hex, which is a course on baneful magic. And yeah, a few other offerings on there. And obviously I have my spell services, my reading services, and all that fun stuff.
So yeah, also one other thing we're going to plug in here. Dyra is starting a clothing line. So Demonora. Mm-hmm. is the name of it. You can go to demonora.com. That'll actually be live on the 31st. So for some left-hand path, Goetia-based fashion and things of that nature, very tastefully done. So every 3 months, I think it is. You say every 3 months, it'd be like 3 more. So the way we're doing is every 3 months, there's going to be 3 more Goetic demons added to the line. So right now it is Payman, Belial,
Asmodeus.
and Asmodeus. Right now are the 3 Goetic demons that are available in the line. Again, it'll go live on the 31st. So make sure that, you know, you tune into that and you get that stuff like quick. And so then in 3 months, that line will continue for 3 months, then that line will be discontinued at that 3 month point, and then we're going to introduce 3 more Goetic demons. So these lines are limited. So once it's gone, it's gone. Right? So if you don't get it, you're not going to. Right? So you got a 3 month window to get it, and then it's gone. And then there's 3 more designs that come in and replace those. So keep an eye on for that one. So again, that is demonora.com. So it's Demonora, DEMONORA.
Yeah.
.com. So go check that out. Again, it goes live on the 31st. You'll have a 3 month window, and then those designs get retired, and 3 more come in with 3 different Goetic demons. So that covers everything, guys. Thank you very much for being here. You guys are fucking awesome. Love your faces. This has been Satan and Coffee, Sunday Black Mass, with lovely Black Witch Dyra. And we will see you guys next week. And yes, we will see you guys next week. Right? Because Dyra's going to be on fucking everything. So see you guys then. And as always, hail thy fucking self. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.